Shalom Aleichem, good Yom Tov. It's a Shana Rabbah, a good Kvittel to everyone. It's a very special day, and it's Erev Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. So I'll share a little bit about the specialty being by the Rebbe these 3 days. Shana Rabbah, the minyan, last night the Rebbe came down to 1 o'clock for Tehillim, and the whole crowd said Tehillim together about an hour and a half. The next day, today, in the morning, davening, I believe, started 10 o'clock at 9:30, 10, and it went for 2-3 hours with all the shyness. And Rebbe Yankel Katz, in my days from Chicago, he was the Baal Tefillah, and he would, say out loud and very loud, like kind of screaming, "I shine liman choelekeinu." You can hear it throughout 770, and it's very memorable. The Rebbe, this was the only time during the year that the Rebbe actually said a tefillah by heart without looking into a siddur. And it's amazing, the Rebbe, what's the Pella? The Rebbe was a goyin, and he had a phenomenal memory, but he said the entire shyness, Baal Peh, by heart, right, following the Baal Tefillah, Rebbe Yankel Katz. Then after davening, the Rebbe he distributed lekach, honey cake, to the women. The women didn't get Erev Yom Kippur when he gave the men, so they had an opportunity on Hoshana Rabbah. And in addition to that, those that were out of town or weren't available to get lekach Erev Yom Kippur would come, men, after the women, and they would get, I believe after the women, and they would get from the Rebbe lekach. And the Rebbe stood giving out lekach for hours and hours. And then was Yom Tov, it was Shmini Atzeres night. And let me preface by saying, the 48 hours, I think that Rashab says that the 48 hours of dancing with Simcha on Simchas Torah, on Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah, is as powerful as the 48 hours of the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, we do it with yira, with awe, with fear, with Kabbalah soil, with accepting the yoke of Hashem. And on Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah, it's through joy and happiness. And therefore, one can benefit in all aspects of life, especially in Parnosa, having a better livelihood for his family, and all the brachas one needs in Gashmias from Shidduchim and better health, and seeing Yiddish Nachas from the children and grandchildren. All of these things are particularly emphasized through the dancing, but you have to dance, and you have to be happy. I once saw in 770 a chassid who was elderly, he couldn't dance, as he was standing in a place while everyone was going around in circles and dancing, and he was making with his feet the whole time. He was going up and down like he didn't rest, he didn't have his feet rest, because he couldn't dance for whatever reason. I guess he wasn't well enough to dance, but he wanted to dance, so he just made his feet go up and down. So for one person, it's the feet going up and down. For the other person, it's clapping. For the other person, it's going like this. For another person, it's smiling and singing loud. But you have to get involved. And no one's there to push you, and no one's there to look at you. It's your own avodah, your own service. The minig by many chassidim and Chabad included, we dance tonight as well. We do Atar Esas, and then we dance with the Sifri Torah. After Shmoneh Esrei. Tomorrow, generally the Simchas Torah was greater than the Simcha on Shmini Atzeres by the Rebbe. One year it was just the opposite, and the Rebbe Fabrein then explained why that year was an exception to the rule. During the day, Shmini Atzeres, of course, is we ask for Geshem, and it's a special tefillah, and the nusach of the tefillah is like the Yom Neiroim, the High Holy Days. It's more of a yira or oriented nusach. So it's not just rain. Rain represents Gashmias. So again, we have another tefillah representing benefiting the Gashmias. So it's very important that we focus on this tefillah. And then you have in the afternoon, people have a custom, they go into the sukkah before the end of Yom Tov to gesegnen sich, which means to say farewell, goodbye sukkah, and that's also you take a cup of tea, a biscuit, a fruit, you say a vort, you say l'chaim. So that's gesegnen sich with the sukkah on Shmini Atzeres in the afternoon. Because Simchas Torah, which begins tomorrow night, Matzah Shabbos, you don't have to eat anymore in the sukkah. You're supposed to eat in the sukkah. And here is when it's all about simcha, 24 hours of non-stop simcha. When we were with the Rebbe for our kofis, first there was a farbrengen. And during the farbrengen, and before the farbrengen, many Chassidim walked the shuls to participate in dancing with other Yidden. And the farbrengen was a smaller farbrengen, at least in the beginning. Started, I think, 9 o'clock, and it went to 12 usually. And the Rebbe explained the psukim of Ataresa Alpi, according to the deeper inner meaning, the psukim of Mataresa. And then 12 he finished, he went up to his room, and they set up the shul, because they had to change from a farbrengen style to Simchas Torah style. And 1 o'clock in the morning he came down. Our kofis lasted from 1 to about 3:30. They sold out Teresas, and the Rebbe was machabed. He honored people, special guests and delegates from the Israeli consulate and others that came, because they only celebrate one day. So for them it wasn't Yom Tov. And the atmosphere was electric. It's hard in words to communicate what the feeling was, but I want to tell you something. From the beginning of Shmini Atzeres till after Simchas Torah, you saw physically in the Rebbe's being, in his body, you saw elation, you saw freilichkeit. Just like when he came at Rosh Hashanah, started with Avinu Malkeinu, banging on his stender. You could see it's Yira, it's Malchus, it's Kabbalah Soil. So too here, the last 2 days, from the first moment he came and he started to patch and clap, it was it was tremendous. And the next day when he had his talis on, Simchas Torah in the morning, his talis would fall a little bit off the shoulders, and he would put it back and put it over his head, and sometimes he was patching and this talis was over his head, and sometimes you could see the face. Here is a 70, 80-year-old man. During my years, those were the years in the 70s and 80s, I saw the Rebbe and participated with him. And I was up front. I had a place up front next to the Aron Kodesh. You could see very clearly all of this. It was electric. It was contagious. It was gewaldig. So Rabbi say, here we are, Tafshin Pei Aleph, Teishnas, Pidyon Emes, Poida Emes, Plois Arena, all the good acronyms. We're dealing again with this issue. We need to be mevatel it, to annul it, to eradicate it, to destroy it, only through simcha. Don't allow any of this fear and issues to disturb your simcha. And if you need to take a little l'chaim to overcome, do so. Of course, not in a way where you abuse the alcohol and you become all nuts and cuckoo and meshuggah and you vomit and all those disgusting things, but besimcha, to help you besimcha, sometimes a person needs a little l'chaim, if he needs that. And to be besimcha, to be happy that we are able to dance with the Torah, to hug the Torah. And I conclude with a vart of the Frierdiker Rebbe. He says in a Maimer, I believe, in Tafshin Beis from 1941, he says over there, the purpose of dancing is to train your body. The purpose of dancing with the Torah is to train your body to schwitz for a mitzvah. To schwitz for a mitzvah, to get tired from doing a mitzvah, but to do the mitzvah. And because during the year there'll be times you'll be lazy and it'll be hard, you won't want, it'll be cold, it'll be hot. So once a year on Simchas Torah, we dance away with the Torah, it's Simchas Torah, and to the point of sweating and schwitzing. And what's the purpose? The purpose is because it's all about you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I love you, Hashem. I love your Torah. I hug the Torah. I kiss the Torah. And the Rebbe should help Taka that we should be zeicher to the Gula Shlema. When Kitzur Rana Sheikh Ne'afar, everyone that's passed on will come back and will dance and dance and dance with Mashiach Tzidkenu, Yerushalayim, HaKadosh, Guten Erev Yom Tov.